There's a really big difference between just accepting a culture compared to just really exposing yourself and understanding it. I think that's what I've come to realize after taking Japanese, because it's I may have watched anime as a kid, maybe like Japanese food, but then I think I was basically what you call like an ignorant consumer in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
People think their eyes have been opened in this current world with the internet, but I don't think everyone is fully opened. If you get what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're listening to Speaking of Language, a podcast recorded at the Language Resource Center at Cornell University. Each week, we explore a topic related to language pedagogy and second language acquisition. This week on Speaking of Language,
Cornell undergraduates Hezekiah Thompson and Justin Kang talk about what they have gained from their language learning experiences and their advice for incoming freshmen or any prospective language student.
Welcome to a new episode of Speaking of Language. I'm Angelica Kramer, the director of the Language Resource Center at Cornell University.
And I'm Sam Lupowitz, the LRC's Media Development Manager.
Today, we have two undergraduate students in the studio to hear more about their perspectives on the importance of language learning.
Hezekiah Thompson is a senior and Justin Kang is a junior. Both of them are language students, and both of them are also student assistants here at the LRC.
Welcome to Speaking of Language, Hez and Justin.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, absolutely. We are so excited that you can join us today. Before we talk about your perspective on the importance of language learning, can you please share with us a little bit more about your background with languages? What languages are you studying here at Cornell, and what got you interested in those languages?
Should I go first? Okay. So I'm from Korea, so I've had a background in Korean, kind of just speaking with my parents and my relatives at the same time. But the funny thing is I never actually learned grammatical, grammar and phonics and everything. Never took classes about Korean, except for elementary school.
Sure.
So I think maybe just conversation-wise, I'm able to speak Korean. But then and then English, because I went to international school. And in Cornell, I started to study Japanese.
Okay.
Which it's been a really fun experience. So which even persuaded me to take a second year, and now a third year after pre-enroll. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How come Japanese?
Or at the start, to be honest, it was about kind of fulfilling the whole arts and science credits.
Sure.
And then all the East Asian courses are 6 credits. So if you take a year of it, you're basically done.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But at the same time, I was already familiar with Korean, and I've taken a semester of Chinese already.
Okay.
And Japanese was something culture-wise I was very kind of exposed to, and I really enjoyed. But I never actually had the chance to learn the language, so I was like, why not 2 birds with 1 stone?
Yeah.
Take all the credits and have fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. Great. Hez, what about you?
So I'm actually in a different boat. I am actually studying engineering here, so I had no obligations to take a language here.
Mm-hmm.
You can take it for liberal studies, but even by this point, I had fulfilled my liberal studies by the time I had started taking a language. And I'm also taking Japanese. We're actually both classmates in the same Japanese class. But I'm also taking Mandarin at the same time. And I thoroughly enjoy it. All 12 credits worth last year, but now all 8 credits worth this year.
Wow.
But I actually first started Mandarin when I was 10 years old. In middle school, it was part of a school project.
Okay.
My middle school was the first school in my city of Buffalo, New York, to offer Mandarin, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then my Mandarin teacher encouraged my parents to encourage me to keep taking it, even as private study in high school. But by the time I got to Cornell, I was I need to focus on engineering and figuring out other things. So I was like, okay, I won't take a language, even though in my head I kind of wanted to take Mandarin.
Sure.
Then I stumbled upon the Language House, which exposed me to many, many different people from many different languages.
Yeah.
And my roommate actually was in the Japanese section, and he was the star of the Japanese program here at Cornell. And he inspired me to take Japanese. So I was like, I can do it. I can take Japanese. I didn't think it would be that hard because, it's the same Chinese characters. It's much harder than I thought. much harder than I thought. But it's still a lot of fun. And after taking Japanese for a year, for a semester, I thought, what, I can test into Mandarin again, and then I just enrolled in Mandarin that next semester, and it's just been a ride ever since. I thoroughly enjoy taking both of them. They both have their challenges, but I both thoroughly enjoy it.
What are some benefits that you've noticed that being culturally competent and having another language under your belt, what does that give you an edge on when you're going through, whether it be class or outside of class?
I think it's just the people that you can start talking to now and the types of conversations you can start having with those people.
Yeah.
Just in our Japanese program alone, like many of the people who are taking Japanese are thoroughly interested in Japanese culture, whether if it's not anime, then it's maybe one other aspect like traditional arts or so on and so forth. So even being able to have those conversations and using like the Japanese that we have to facilitate them is pretty fun. And really just last month, some students from a university in Japan, the Japanese program invited them to stay in Cornell for a week, and we were actually able to converse with them fully in Japanese and have pretty amazing cultural exchanges. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. And in my case, it's not even just in a Japanese context, but also in a Chinese context, because so many Cornell students do come from a Chinese background, whether they were born in China or born in America. So even having those cultural exchanges is really rewarding.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, or I think you basically took the answer I was going to say, but then it's like I don't know if it's like a benefit, but then I think just a benefit to my school life in general was like it really kind of created like a community where you have, it's not like just about like your major, like I think that's the thing that's really different about language classes and like maybe classes that you have like are majoring in. Like I major in the sciences like biology. It's like all we talk about is just like biology, like cell, like DNA. But then here, like you like this language like Japanese, it's kind of like a filter in a way. Like you're able to talk about whatever topics you want, and even in our classes in general, we cover various like topics in general, like from like Japanese education to even Japanese pop culture, and kind of being able to kind of talk with that, with not just like biology majors. Like there are like none of these people are Japanese majors. Like we have a variety of like different views from like maybe CS, maybe from like the arts that kind of really, I think really spices up like the whole like topics we talk about in general, as well as even outside of class, like as we practice Japanese, like just the conversations we have, like I think that's one of the most enjoyable parts about taking Japanese. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Well, and what I like when I walk by our main area here at the LRC, I often see you guys like just interacting with other students and speaking Japanese. And I always wonder, what are you guys talking about? Maybe I need to start taking Japanese so I can eavesdrop.
You heard it so much here. Maybe you pick some
right?
just from us doing the recording homework.
Yeah. No, but it's nice that there is this, you know, you're describing this social aspect of learning a language and maybe taking you a little bit outside of your rigorous studies that you have in your major or majors. So that's wonderful to hear. Yeah. If you have to think back at the language classes that you've taken so far, is there a specific memory, something super fun that you guys did, either in class or outside of class, that you connect with your Japanese or your Chinese lessons here, the way that it's taught, or like a fun event, or maybe a field trip or anything like that, a cultural event?
Honestly, every day is its own adventure just in the classes, because you walk in, you're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to have us do today? And it's like, it's such a challenge, but it's also so much fun. But we do occasionally have like some special field trips and programs that are sponsored, like sponsoring the students from Japan to come in for the week, and we speak Japanese with them. Occasionally some talks. Actually, just a month ago, right before spring break, we had a performer from Japan come and give us a performance in this style of Japanese comedy called rakugo. And we come in, and it's like literally the entire Japanese class there, like first year, second year, third year.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're coming in, we're hearing like the English portion and hearing the Japanese portion, and then talking about it amongst each other, going up after the performance, going after to Cafe Pacific, one of the Japanese style restaurants / stores in College Town, and talking and laughing some more, talking junk about the Japanese class, not junk, but also good things about the Japanese class and just the culture in general. Yeah. So it's actually a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Just special programs like that that we have sometimes. It's really like the highlight of my time here.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Justin, anything that stands out for you?
I don't know why, but I thought of like assignments that especially like stuck to me. So from second year on in Japanese, we do like presentations at the end of the semester, which I think that's like was one of the best times to really express yourself, like because you get to choose what you want to talk about, what you want to present about.
Yeah.
And like I think that was especially memorable because we were able to like we do it in groups, so we talk about like what we're gonna present and kind of like even if we choose a topic like for last semester, I didn't choose the topic our group wanted. We had a friend who really loves cats. So we did about an island called Tashirojima, which is called Cat Island.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But then it's like kind of like you got to choose your own topic and like really like look into like things you would never kind of maybe come up with in like in class. So like that freedom that assignment basically gave like myself and all the other students, I think was pretty memorable.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you're like, I did a whole presentation in Japanese, and like that was pretty unbelievable in a sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because like that it was basically like a year and a half, and like I would have never expected myself to be able to do that in a year and a half. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I know.
Just to add to that, because we're talking all about Japanese, so I have to talk a little bit about my experience in Mandarin. So at the end of the semester in Mandarin, we always do something similar, but it's not a presentation. We actually make a whole skit, like we're all actors. And I remember after second semester of first year Mandarin, we actually had to make our own skit. And in the end, the best actor or actress would get what's called an Oscar. And just seeing everyone else's performance, just profusively acting and showing emotion while at the same time being able to perfect your tones and everything in Mandarin was a lot of fun. And I was close to getting an Oscar. Everyone said I was just barely there. I was close second.
You were snubbed.
I was like, oh my gosh, well, shula. Oh, gosh. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And actually, we just got our skit assignments for this semester too. So maybe I'll get that Oscar today. This semester.
There we go. We're rooting for you.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
So not just Japanese, but Mandarin also creates amazing memories.
That's great.
We'll bet on you in our Oscar pool.
Exactly. We will. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about any plans you might have for using your languages that you've studied after graduation? Justin, I know you have a little more time.
So immediately, I don't have any plans to directly use the language, even though I will be in Taiwan teaching English for a little bit. So maybe some of that Mandarin can scoop in there, and I'll just be a sea away from Japan. So maybe sometime I could go see Japan. But actually, after really thinking about what I want to do for grad school, because I realized after doing my time here in engineering that engineering isn't really what I want to do. I actually want to study not only architecture, I'd actually like to study East Asian architecture.
Oh, cool.
So maybe, fingers crossed, maybe I could one day go to graduate school in China or Japan or Taiwan and study the architecture directly while being able to write theses and everything, give presentations in my Liuli Zhongwen or my Pera Pera Nihongo. and just be able to be immersed in the environment, be able to have more conversations with the actual natives there, and then see from there and just have a great time.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. Justin, do you think that there might be an opportunity for you to utilize your language skills in wherever you think your professional future might take you?
Or I think maybe mine is more targeted for like an international kind of like my target is to go kind of international because like I want to go into education. Like I was pre-med, but then I kind of I teach Korean at like my church.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like it's for like basically Korean American kids. Like they're Korean, but they've never kind of learned the actual language.
Sure.
So we teach that, and I think that kind of really like burned like a fire in me to actually like want to like go into teaching.
Cool.
But then I'm also from an international school, so like I've always had teachers who are like not just from the U.S. but around the world. And like now that I want to be a teacher, I'm like, that's such a cool job. Like I really want to try that as well. So I like in a perfect world, like maybe I wanted like after graduation, I wanted to maybe go for teaching opportunities like abroad, like maybe in the U.S. or maybe like in Korea. But then I also thought now that I learned Japanese,
Right? Yeah.
I also opened the door to like an opportunity maybe to teach in Japan.
Totally.
And or I mean, I've been attending a internship program called Come On Out Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like you teach kind of English to basically high schoolers, but sometimes middle schoolers or college kids in Japan. And I've done that last year, and I'm probably going back this year as well.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so hopefully that experience maybe helps me in like my future.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
endeavors.
Yeah.
Maybe yeah.
Nice.
Hopefully, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, those are both great plans. I like that both of you are going into education. We need more motivated, wonderful language learners and future teachers like you guys. If there was one thing you could tell your friends or fellow students who maybe are not currently taking a language, why they should be taking a language, what would you tell them? What could convince them? Like what has been great for you about being a language learner, or why is learning a language important today?
I like right now I have a lot of like freshmen who ask me like for tips about like what classes to take next semester as they go for like pre-enroll. And then like I do say like a lot of them ask because like they know I'm studying Japanese, like, oh, how's Japanese? And I do tell them the truth, like, oh, it's a lot of work, especially like as you get busier, it may be a little stressful at times, but then also at the same time, I think there's like a huge benefit that like basically like just eats up like the disadvantages of taking a language class, because I feel like the world seems more globalized today, especially with the internet. But I feel like there's still a limit to that, because like it's basically just you're experiencing something just like through a screen. But then I feel like there's a really big difference between like just accepting a culture compared to like just like really exposing yourself and like understanding it.
Yeah.
And then I think that's what I've come to realize after taking Japanese, because it's like I may have watched anime as a kid, like I maybe like Japanese food, but then I think I was basically what you call like an ignorant consumer in a sense. And then now that I actually learn like the language and like the culture behind it, it's kind of like it's sometimes like eye-opening in a sense, which I feel like people think their eyes have been opened like in this current like world with the internet, but I don't think everyone is like fully opened, if you get what I mean. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I think like especially now, like Cornell has such good like language, like they're like the language programs are really nice. And then like it's not just about Japanese, like we heard about like Chinese, Korean, and then all the other languages as well. So I feel like it's this opportunity, like you have to take it, right? To actually maybe open your eyes, because I don't think it's an opportunity that's like really frequent after college.
Yeah, that's very true. Yep.
So I started Mandarin and Japanese last year, and my one, not really regret, but really kind of tick is like, oh, I wish I had started in my freshman year, so I'd have more time. I could have learned more. Gosh. So that's one thing I would say. Like, if you want to start a language, like, go full in and take in as much as you can. If I had started earlier, I could have taken in much more. Because I did kind of want to take Mandarin, even since I was a freshman and sophomore, but there was always some excuse that I made, like, oh, like it doesn't fit in my schedule. Oh, it's going to be so many credits. And, can I really fit this in now? Or I'll take it next year. Just different excuses. And some of them are very legit. Like, there are certain realities that everyone has. But also at the same time, it's like, if you really, really want it, then do what you can with what you have to make sure that you can take that language. Because no matter how hard the language is, and we're both taking what's popularly said to be like among the hardest languages in the world, but because I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm sure Justin enjoys Japanese too, it's like it doesn't really feel so hard. It doesn't feel so hard to us. It feels like really feels like we're doing a hobby every single day. So pretty much what I say is, if you really do want to take it for very true, authentic reasons, then go ahead and take it. because you never know what will happen. Actually, when I was in China just for spring break for 1/2 a day, I couldn't use my phone for Google or anything, so I actually had to rely on locals to point me to where everything is and like use the sites that only China has. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. If I didn't know Chinese, I would have been so lost. So you never know what will happen to you in your life where it'll be useful.
Yep. Very cool. Well, hey, thanks to both of you for joining us on the podcast today and also for being wonderful student assistants for the LRC.
Hopefully.
Nah, you are. With this episode, our 3rd season of Speaking of Language comes to an end. We will be back in September with new topics and guests.
In the meantime, you can listen to our archived shows on our website at lrc.cornell.edu, on iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts. We wish all of our listeners a wonderful summer. Until fall.
Auf Wiederhören.
The Language Resource Center is located on the ground floor of Stimson Hall on Cornell's main campus in Ithaca, New York. Check us out on the web at lrc.cornell.edu or look for Cornell LRC on Facebook and Twitter.
Speaking of Language is produced by Angelica Kramer and Sam Lupowitz.
Recorded by Sam Lupowitz.
Original music by Sam Lupowitz, Dan Gable, and Joe Gibson.
Thanks also to the College of Arts and Sciences at Cornell University.
As a reminder, the ideas and opinions expressed on this podcast do not reflect those of the College of Arts and Sciences or any other official entity of Cornell University.
We thank our listeners, and do stay tuned for our next episode.